Here's a strange story. Lightyear may have just doomed Pixar to Disney Plus forever. It's possible. And there's an article that's written about this over on Variety, VIP platform, that I think is spot on. But there are a lot of problems with Lightyear, including a very bad concept, in my opinion, and obviously the choice to not use the voice of the titular character that is associated with a successful Toy Story franchise. But that's the least of its problems, and we're going to dive right into that in just a moment. So, here we go. Lightyear in the theaters did historically bad. It is one of the few films that Pixar can point to as a complete failure. In fact, it is the second lowest performing film, I believe, in the history of the Pixar franchise. And I'll be able to correct that in a moment as we go through the article, but I'm pretty sure I'm correct. I think the only one that did worse domestically would have been Onward. And I think that's also accurate. But let's dive into the fact that this film, with a $200 million production budget, which I think is just stupid high for a film like this, well, it didn't even clear the bar for profitability. In fact, it probably lost the studio well over $100 million, if not $200 million. Let's dive into this. First of all, let's look at the financial information from the numbers. You can see here that the performance of this film was fairly flat. It had a decent trajectory out the door, but was already falling lower and lower by the time it got around to its first week. The first weekend fall off was stunning. It went from June 17 opening weekend performance to June 24th weekend, falling off 64%, right in line with the garbage that Disney's been putting out through their various entities. Well, unfortunately for Lightyear, it followed that weekend up with another 64% fall off, putting it at an earnings of $6 million in its third weekend. So from 50 million to 18 million to 6 million. And it only fell off further from there, failing to earn after 12 weeks in the market, failing to earn over $1 million by the time you get to weekend 6. That's not great. And that is kind of the trajectory, I think, of all of these Disney products. But the more important thing here is it lost the studio an exorbitant amount of money. Again, I mentioned $200 million production budget. It has a worldwide box office of 1.1 times the production budget. And again, with a film like this, you need to make 2.5 to 2.8 times your production budget in order to just try to achieve profitability. This film is well underwater. I think the overall earnings globally for this film, and I could be wrong, as it releases out onto Disney Plus here this last Thursday, I believe. Its overall earnings to date globally sit at an incredibly disappointing $215,803,000. What a failure. And like this article is about to say, it's very bad for Pixar. From the article, having to blast off at the box office this summer, Pixar's Lightyear will get another chance to pull viewers into its orbit when the film launches on Disney Plus Wednesday. Okay, I was wrong. It's Wednesday. It's all right. The first Pixar film to play widely in U.S. theaters since March 2020, it fell far short of box office expectations, growing less in its opening weekend, grossing less in its opening weekend than Toy Story 2 back in 1999. It opened at 117 million domestically, 219 million worldwide, as the lowest grossing film of the franchise and Pixar's second lowest grossing release overall. Of course, that's not counting films that were sent directly to Disney Plus, which we know. It was Onward that had its theatrical run cut short by the global crisis. So you can see, not bueno in any way. It remains to be seen whether the film's tepid performance will carry over to the streaming service, or if viewers will be more inclined to check out Buzz Lightyear's origin story. It's not his origin story. It's the creation of the mythos around the character Buzz Lightyear from the film that Andy saw when he was a child. And I think this is one of the confusing reasons why this film didn't do well. But anyway. So it may be counterintuitive, but it's actually better for Pixar if Lightyear underperforms on Disney Plus as well, provided the studio wants to see any of its movies play on the big screen again. And this is where I really start to buy into this, and I think it's accurate. There were many theories floated as to why Lightyear flopped in theaters, from strong competition, no, to the middling reviews, to its convoluted tie into the Toy Story franchise. I think all of those are probably accurate, but I don't think the strong competition existed. I don't know what that's referring to, but some analysts posited that families with young children were still reluctant to return to theaters. And this is something I pointed out at the time that was roundly squashed 2 weeks later by the 100 million plus opening of Minions: The Rise of Gru. Exactly. See, none of these things are going to float anymore. The audience is soundly rejecting message filmmaking. They are. And TV shows, etc., etc. And you know how you know that is, again, you'll see in other videos I'm doing this week, Warner Brothers Discovery, Netflix, and others are turning away from message-based programming for the most part. It doesn't mean you're not going to get progressive ideas here and there. It means that they're going to skew towards what the audiences are willing to consume and pay for, so that they stick with their services as the economy goes slowly, well, maybe quickly, into the toilet. Instead of the theory that nobody wanted to go see this film because the kids and the parents were afraid to take them to the theater, the prevailing theory became that after 3 films and more than 2 years, families had simply grown used to watching new Pixar movies in their homes. Maybe. I still don't think that's accurate. Perhaps Disney, by using Pixar to boost its streaming success, damaged the theatrical potential of one of its key brands in the process. I think Disney has damaged their key brands across the board, and I think it's not related to this, but hey, that's my opinion. Seems to be bearing out, though. Lightyear succeeding on Disney Plus would give weight to that theory, which I agree, if not essentially prove it, and Pixar movies have performed strongly on streaming with Soul, Luca, and Turning Red, all of which were released directly to Disney Plus, posting big viewership numbers on the service. Per Nielsen data, Disney Plus doesn't disclose viewership. And again, they're extrapolating from the Nielsen data, which I can understand why, but I would not say that 1.7 billion minutes on something is anything to crow about, because people that you don't know how many people that reflects, because there could have been a bunch of people that started any of these films and just didn't finish them. Again, completion is important, which is the subject of another video. Look at 10.6 billion minutes viewed. Obviously, Luca was the most streamed movie in 2021. Again, I'm going to argue with that conclusion because all it does is indicate that people watched maybe the beginning of it, half of it, 2/3 of it. You don't know. You don't know where the drop-off point was. You don't know what the completion ratio was, and that's really important when it comes to streaming. But anyway, it stayed amongst Turning Red stayed amongst the top Nielsen's top 20 streaming titles for 2 months. It racked up 7.1 billion minutes viewing time. So there you go. Like I said, first week viewing and total viewing minutes never impressed me because I don't know how many people started it. I don't know how many people watched it multiple times. I don't know. And neither do they. The only people who know are Disney Plus, and they ain't going to tell you, which I have a real problem with. So, should Lightyear prove successful on streaming, then the value of the Pixar movies as big screen releases would come under severe scrutiny. I don't think so. I think only certain people are going to think this way, but if it's somebody inside Disney thinking this way, this could relegate Pixar to Disney Plus and essentially destroy the studio's financial viability, because there's no reason to have Disney Animation and Pixar going forward. They both look the same now. A lot of that is, unfortunately, Lasseter's fault, but at the same time, it gives Disney a more streamlined pipeline, and I not going to argue against them being over bloated, because they are. So, but why spend millions mounting a theatrical rollout, because they're very expensive? Disney could surely reason that for sure. But when Pixar movies are such effective subscription generators for Disney Plus, well, I don't think you're going to spend $200 million on a Disney Plus show to maintain subscriptions. I don't think they're that valuable, especially when your ARPU is complete trash like Disney's is. We'll find out more in the quarterly call on Thursday, but hey. Lightyear underwhelmingly on Disney Plus would tell a different story. It would be easier in that case to frame the film as a one-off flop, a failed franchise extension whose potential appeal was overestimated. Obviously for the Toy Story franchise, I hope that's true. For Pixar in general, I hope that's accurate. But I think that the content and the marketing were both detrimental to this film. And obviously the convoluted premise and everything else didn't help. And of course the switch in the voice actor. I think it all contributed to the flop in the theaters, and I think it will probably not help in streaming. In and of itself, it's not great for Pixar, but it could be enough to convince Disney to keep giving the company's films a chance at theaters. The next Pixar title is called Elemental. It's currently slated for a theatrical release next summer, but we all know how quickly that can change. Yeah. I have a feeling that Elemental will be released in theaters, barring any potential message in it that will be negatively marketed and create no interest in the audience. And I think that's the ultimate conclusion that I come away with. People were anticipating something woke, and they got incredibly progressive stuff and some themes that maybe some parents don't want to show their kids. So again, these things are being pushed by people that are fairly radical in Disney. But I agree with the premise of the article. If there is a strong Disney Plus response to Lightyear, they may never get into the theater again. So we'll just have to see. But what do you think? Do you think that the premise of the article is correct? Do you think my analysis is somewhat accurate? If so, make comments. If you don't, definitely make comments. I'd like to hear your perspective on this. I'd be very interested. Also, I'm curious, are you supporting independent creators out there? I hope you are, because we need to build up the smaller channels, including mine. I mean, obviously, I love your support. Like, subscribe, share out my content, comment, of course, and show up for the live streams, because those are actually being somewhat effective now here on this platform and the other places that I stream. So all of that really does help with engagement, and it lets YouTube know you want to see my stuff and other independent creator stuff as well. So if you wouldn't mind, do all the things. And with that being said, be sure to take care of yourself, take care of others, wash your hands, of course, because it's good hygiene. And until next time, bye. Thanks for visiting today. Be sure you're subscribed and hit that for alerts. Yay! Of course, like and share all of the videos that you can, as it helps with the algorithm. Have a great day.